Inspired Coach podcast and another amazing expert interview that we have for you today. I've got a feeling that this is going to be one that really resonates deeply with a lot of people, whether you are a coach right now, training to become one, or thinking about becoming one, and that you might have also been at some point in time, which is a very common thing, a coaching client. Because when you are a coach or training to become a coach, you obviously recognize the incredible value in working with coaches, and that means that you've likely done that yourself or will be in the not too distant future. So we are here today to talk about the topic of anxiety and working with anxiety when you have that as a coach, and also when you have, like our wonderful guest today, chosen to work with clients who experience anxiety as well. So our guest today is the wonderful Diana Braybrooke, who we know in our community as Di. Let me tell you a little more about her. Diana Braybrooke is a certified anxiety life coach, a mind detox practitioner and teacher with a background of 15 years in education. Di helps mums with high-functioning anxiety navigate overwhelm, sensory overload and perfectionist tendencies. Using root cause therapy and somatics, Di guides women towards self-acceptance, calming stress and anxiety, and regulating their nervous systems to be fully present for their families. Outside of her own practice, Di enjoys writing poetry, dancing with her children, and savouring artisan coffee at hipster cafes. Well, Di, I will meet you there at one of those hipster cafes anytime. And in this episode ahead, Di shares in her own really unique and special way her own experience of now having experienced anxiety for a very long time as a human being. This is not just a recent diagnosis for her. It's something that she's been walking with for many, many years. And what she does to support herself as a coach who has anxiety and needs to turn up in this really important role as a space holder, and why it is that she's decided to work with mums, she's a mum herself, who also experience anxiety, and what it is that she does with them to support them with that, including a really interesting modality that she talks about, hypnosis, that she brings in and works with her clients as well. And I love in this conversation too, Di's perspective on boundaries as somebody that is working with clients who can often be and often are highly anxious, highly functioning, but also at times highly anxious as well. It is a wonderful conversation, and it's just that. It's not a stiff or a formal interview. We kind of don't do those here at Inspired Coach. I just want to have a chat with people and bring you really great conversations, and that's what today's is. You can find out more about the wonderful Di at dianabraybrooke.com. Enjoy this really open, heartfelt conversation about working with anxiety as a coach ahead with Di. Diana Braybrooke, known and loved to us here in the beautiful You Coaching Academy as Di. Welcome to Inspired Coach Podcast. I am absolutely thrilled to have you on as our guest today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be having this lovely conversation with you.
Yeah, and it is going to be a conversation, and I think it's even more important that rather than a stiff formal interview or having any kind of deeply preconceived notions as to where this might go, that it is just a chat given the conversation that we're talking about. And that is about anxiety and mental health, and being a coach as you are who experiences anxiety and is also chosen to be a coach who works with people who have anxiety. So we've got both ends of the spectrum here. And Di, I wanted to start out today by first of all, letting everybody know, if they don't, that as a coach, you've been a coach now for a really long time. You trained with us a long time ago, my love,
Yes.
a very long time ago, which was amazing. You have been very open about the fact that you are somebody who experiences and lives with anxiety. And I'd love to just ask you to begin with, what has inspired or prompted within you that openness? Why are you so open about your journey with anxiety?
I think that we need to share more about it because there's so much stigma surrounding mental health. It's like people are like, oh, it's just in your head, or there's nothing bad going on in your life, so why are you experiencing this? And I think for shame to keep existing, like, is to just hold those stories back. And so I'm like, no, I'm going to share about this. It helps when we talk about it so that other people can go, oh, I feel like that too. I'm highly accomplished. I'm in this career. I'm doing all these things. And I also experience anxiety. So I think opening up and talking about it, it takes away a lot of the stigma surrounding it.
I couldn't agree with you more, but that doesn't mean that it's an easy thing to do.
No.
Right? And that is because of the stigma that you mention, and also sometimes the shame that you mention, and even saying those two words. It's like, it's 2024. Like, surely we must be beyond this. But while I think we're getting better and better and better at it, when I think about this and I think about mental health, I think that one of the reasons that we might be afraid or concerned or have a wobble about sharing things like we may be walking with a mental health concern is because of how that then might be perceived by others. We're worried potentially that may mean others might see us as not being very competent.
Oh, yes. Highly relate. I hope that's okay to jump in there.
Please.
Highly relate.
Yeah.
Because, can I just give us an example what happened
Please.
last week? So last week, we had that mishap happen where, the computer died, and I completely freaked out where I was like, just wait. I was calm at first, and I was like, just stay calm. Like, I put all of these practices into place to make sure I could be my best self that day, and including today. And then I was like, 5 minutes past, 10 minutes past. I'm like, did I get the time right? And then I'm starting to go into that internal dialogue, which is anxiety, preparing for the future, looking out for it, looking out for the dangers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Julie's in Melbourne. How about if I got daylight savings time wrong? Oh my gosh, she's going to think I'm so silly and not competent is the word you use. That's exactly how I felt in that moment. And then I was like, shh. And shh, brain, it's okay. And I spoke to that, I spoke to that. I was like, Julie is not going to think that. Reminded myself of the truth. I am highly competent. So those people who are experiencing anxiety, they are highly competent, but we have these moments of where we feel anxious because we want to feel safe. We don't want to look silly. We don't want to look like we've stuffed up.
Absolutely, Di. And you know what? Thank you for sharing that, because everyone, just to give you a little bit more context, this is actually the third time that Di and I have scheduled this interview. The very first time I fell sick. The second time, which is what Di was just talking about, my computer fell sick. And I was frantically trying to get Liz, my wonderful right-hand woman here on the team, to contact Di and say, I am so sorry, but something is happening with the recording suite. It's not working. Poor Di's on the end there waiting for me. And so I think that's a really poignant and very appropriate example to bring up, and it wasn't your fault at all. You are incredibly competent. It was all me at that point in time, dealing with some tech wrangles that didn't quite work. But those feelings that we have, those anxious feelings around how we may be perceived as coaches that are meant to be there to support other people, can be very real. And if I may share that, for the first time in my life, actually, at 52 years of age, in the last couple of years of my life, I have experienced some anxiety, which is something that I have never experienced before, apart from, you know, the usual sorts of possible worries we may have when someone we love is sick, or, you know, an accident happens or something along those lines. And we know that those times of feeling anxious are very normal. My anxiety has come about as a result of going through the rite of passage of perimenopause. And this is actually something that happens to a lot of people going through that rite of passage and this stage of life. It's something that impacts you physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. It can come with increased anxiety. And I had never experienced this before, and it has been humbling, to say the least, to all of a sudden be somebody that worries about things like whether you locked the front door, or my husband going down the street and being concerned he's going to have an accident, when there is no good reason for me to be thinking such things. And it took me quite a bit of time to realize what was actually going on. I was like, what is happening? And then eventually the doctor said to me, she said, "You're experiencing anxiety." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I don't think so. I've never had anxiety before. That's ridiculous. How's it?" And she just kind of looked at me and said, "That's classic anxiety." And at first I didn't want to talk about it. Now I'm telling everybody. Because I want all the upcoming women and people behind me that eventually go through this rite of passage to know this may occur to you as well. Please know you're okay, but talk about it and get support and help, because it's real.
And I was chuckling only because my latest catchphrase, what I say to my husband is "Am I in perimenopause or is it anxiety?" And I'll be like, "Is it hot in here? Like, is it just the Brisbane weather, or is it perimenopause?" That has been the catchphrase. And I think that's the thing, right? Like, there are so many crossovers with what is anxiety, what's perimenopause, do they just all interlap? And even with you talking about perimenopause, and here's the scoop, because I haven't actually talked about this with anyone, so you're going to get the scoop. My therapist even said to me, she's like, "I actually think you've got ADHD." And I shrugged that off. I was like, "But I'm on time, and I'm not hyperactive, and I'm not this." And she's like, "Yes, but the busyness is up here in your brain, you know?" And like, even thinking about our podcast today, like, what if I go blank on my specialty topic? Julie asked me a question and I blank out or I interrupt you. And these are all traits that can cross over into perimenopause, ADHD. And so it's really important to go and seek advice about that as well.
Absolutely, it is. It is for sure. Di, thank you so much, for sharing that. And I'd love to now talk a little bit further about, we're still in the zone of talking about you, but then I eventually want to move into talking about how you support your clients, which you've now been doing so beautifully and expertly for many, many years now, specifically mums who experience anxiety. But tell us, as a coach that experiences anxiety, what do you find are the absolute must-dos for you to support yourself to be able to turn up for your clients as a wonderful space holder? What do you need to be really mindful of?
Absolutely. Like some of those basics that we can often forget, like good sleep. Like before I came to this call, I'm like, I need 3 solid good days of sleep, good sleep, in the bed by the 9s, and I'll be set to go. The other thing for me is I know that I am going to be more alert, more focused if I exercise first up in the morning as well. So sleep and exercise. And what else did I do before this? With my clients, I don't do them back to back. I'm not a back to back person. I can't do that. That's just too mentally draining for myself. And yeah, I'd even just nutritionally for myself, like just making sure I've had a good breakfast, making sure I'm not going to get disrupted. You know, I put a sign outside like coaching sessions occurring, don't knock, you know, or same for the podcast. I put a sign out, do not knock, podcast in action, leave parcels.
Yep, absolutely. I have had that sign on my door more than once myself. Absolutely. And, you know, what I'm hearing you say there, Di, is just really targeted, exquisite self-care. Mm-hmm. The basics, sleep, great nutrition, boundaries, exercise, things like that. And, you know, this makes me... The sleep thing. I want to talk about that more for a moment. Can we just talk about this more? Because one of the things, and just to bring it back to perimenopause for the moment, because essentially anyone who has a menstrual cycle can be in a phase of perimenopause from about the age of mid-30s onwards. And that is actually potentially a lot of coaches out there. You know, and it can go on for a long time. It can go on between 35 and 55 or 35 and even 60. And one of the things that gets deeply impacted at that time is sleep. And that's because of the drop in estrogen and the rise of experiences like hot flashes. And so you can get woken many, many times during the night because your body temperature is unexpectedly rising, and you can literally feel like you're on fire, which then creates an anxious response of, oh, am I on fire, or is the house on fire? And that naturally wakes you up. And so it deeply, deeply impacts your quality of sleep. And then it can become a vicious cycle where you become more anxious the following day when you're not fully rested. And so sleep is actually very, very underestimated, isn't it, when it comes to how well we are and how deeply we can turn up for our clients.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just like having a smile because I was like, this is such a divine conversation, honestly, because this is a conversation that I've been having for myself, with my family, because lately I have really struggled with that. And that's why I keep saying, Dave, is this perimenopause or am I anxiety? Because I'm 33. Like, right. No one tells us when this is going to happen, right?
It's absolutely possible at that age that this could be happening for you. Yep. It's early, but it's still... I have learned so much about this. It is absolutely still possible, especially if you are genuinely noticing the rise in body temperature. That means it's happening.
Oh, and the fogginess and stuff like that, where I'm like, oh.
Don't even talk about that.
And that's why I'm like, is it perimenopause? Do I actually have ADHD, which I am going to go for an assessment for, or is it anxiety? But what we were referring to is the sleep aspect. Why that is just such an important conversation to talk about today is because I had actually tried all the things recently, everything I guide my clients with, and nothing was working. No amount of ashwagandha or magnesium in a cup was doing anything. And I just felt like at my wit's end. I was like, I am doing all the tools I know. And I actually was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the doctor about this. So I am going to have some blood tests on that. And in full transparency, because I do want to talk about anxiety and ways that we can manage it, is I've started back on medication, in all honesty, because I was at my wit's end. Not being able to sleep meant there was so many knock-on effects. I tried all the things, and I just put some boundaries around that. I'm like, okay, I admit I need this right now, and it's okay. It doesn't make me less of a person. Maybe I'm nutritionally have these imbalances, you know, like you were saying, estrogen is dropping. And it has given me such a deep sleep. I'm just like, oh, feel so much better. But on the flip side, because it can give me a bit of jet lag, I made sure last night I took it earlier in the night. So I'm well for you.
Yeah, and so this is something that you have to learn to finesse and manage for yourself individually. And, you know, I think it's wonderful that you came to that conclusion for you that medication is what feels best for me right now. And that's a decision that you made for you that you are already feeling is having a positive impact for yourself. That's absolutely fantastic. And of course, everyone's ability or desire in how they want to, in inverted commas, manage, walk with, thrive with, flourish with something like anxiety is different. It's exactly the same as the journey of perimenopause. There are some people that go through this that are very resistant and do not want to take hormone replacement therapy. For others, they're very open to it and willingly do it. Everyone's choice here is their own. It's about finding what's right for you. And you have to do that because you have a job. And that job is, that role is, you've got to turn up for your clients. And so you are doing the best by you, which then does the best by your clients.
Yes, 100%. And I feel so much better. Like, I tried all the things and I just set a goal. I was like, okay, I'm going to just do this for 6 months. And in the in-betweens, I'm going to, get those blood tests back, check my iron, check my vitamin D, vitamin Bs. You know, they're so essential when it comes to anxiety and even menopause. Like, we need that to feel mentally well. You know, maybe I'm lacking in those things and, you know, I can support myself during that time. But in the meantime, this is okay. You know, it doesn't make me less than.
No, it certainly doesn't, because all that does is keep us wrapped up in that spiral of shame and stigma and thinking that there is only one way that is right or best for every person that might be experiencing this, which is simply ridiculous because, of course, we all experience mental health concerns in different ways. Like how depression impacts someone. Oh my gosh, how long do you have? It's not all the same. Yes, there are some commonalities for many people, but I think a lot of people might be surprised as to how some depression manifests in people. For some, it manifests in intense rage that is, you know, very openly expressed or repressed. It does not necessarily result in them feeling an intense sadness, which a lot of people can assume. And so, Di, this wonderful area of work that is just so needed with you as a coach. Let's talk about more now how you support your clients. So while you have been walking with this yourself, so bravely you've decided, I'm going to help and support and serve other people that are also experiencing this, specifically mums with anxiety. Tell us about what you know about how mums experience anxiety as a particular sort of person with one of, as we know, the most important roles in the whole world, which is bringing up future generations.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting that you're talking about, like, with depression, the anger and rage that can come up with that, because that is how anxiety shows up in mums predominantly, is that rage. And, you know, when they've been overstimulated with your kid, Mom, can I have this? Mom, can I have that? Oh no, I spilled something. And the TV's blaring. And, like, even just saying it, I'm like, ah. But when they come to me, they're talking about these rage cycles. And when we break it all down, it's ultimately, it's fear. It's anxiety. They're worried their kid won't go to sleep at night, and so they're going to miss out on watching TV and having that alone time to themselves. They're worried about being late to work because now their kid has done this and it's shown up in rage, but ultimately it's fear and anxiety. So what I do is I look at ways and look at triggers where these things are happening the most, and then we try to put like buffer zones around it and look at, well, can we start bedtime a little bit earlier? Can we organize this on a different day? For me, I organize my groceries to be delivered so I don't have to go through the shops with them. So looking at ways of, the practicalities of it, also looking holistically at, nutritionally, like how can I support myself in this? And even just looking at what are the beliefs that are coming up. And the method that I was also trained in uses NLP and hypnosis. So I even use a bit of hypnosis on them, which is quite fun.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit more about that then as a technique with coaching, because I'm always interested, and I know many, many other people are as well, in the different sorts of modalities that other coaches bring into their work, whether it be Reiki healing or personal training, or it could be anything. In this instance, you're talking about hypnosis. So how do you weave that into your coaching?
Oh, it's so incredible. We usually do that towards the end of a session once we've done some of the practicalities. But our subconscious, we're operating from our subconscious mind, 95% of the time. So the things that we're doing, it's just, we're acting out of these beliefs that we've developed predominantly between the ages of 0 and 7. And so, I know, and we're not even aware of it often, And so what I do with the hypnosis side of it is, there's specific language that I use that helps them to bring certain beliefs to the forefront of their mind. And then we look at it from a different way. So like, what is the truth of this? Was what happened sucky? It still was sucky. I'm not diminishing what happened, but, you survived. And then, I got through it. I did X, Y, Z. And so then they're resourced through this hypnotic process, because now their brain is latching on to the new suggestions.
I love that.
It's
and
so
look
incredible.
At your passion when you're talking about this. It's phenomenal. It's really, really wonderful. Di, from a practical perspective, we'll know as coaches that from time to time, things happen in our clients' lives that can make it challenging for them to turn up to sessions either full stop altogether or well, and be able to move forward with things. And sometimes that's just the reality of life. I could be wrong about this, and please correct me if I am, but I'm potentially thinking and feeling that with working with a client population that significantly experiences anxiety and potentially other mental health things that go with that, that you might have a lot more of that happen in your practice, where people may say, I am just not well today. I can't do this session, or there needs to be rescheduling of some sort. Does that happen to you quite a bit as a coach? And if yes, how do you deal with that?
So it actually doesn't happen as often anymore. In the beginning, it did happen a lot. And I think what I did was I had to have healthy boundaries as well. Like, yeah, I have anxiety too, and I can have compassion for you in this situation. However, this is a use of my time. In some cases, I've had to pay for a babysitter, so now I'm out of pocket. And just laying it out like that to them, but I'm gentle but loving. Okay. So, and I think it's important if you are working with clients who have anxiety, having those boundaries is a healthy thing, but also knowing things do happen, like what we had with our session, or I do have a couple of ADHD clients who are like, I forgot, and I thought it was next week. But with her, like, I just made sure I was like, look, put it in your diary, like now, in your calendar. You got it? Great. And just really guiding them, but being
Yeah.
firm and loving is my best advice for that. But we need them. We need
Absolutely, we
boundaries.
do. And you know what? I'm so glad to hear that as a now very experienced coach, that that's where things are at for you. Because one of the things I think we often don't remember about boundaries is that they're not just for us as coaches, they are for our clients as well. And creating that container also prompts and promotes safety. And you know, that container that means this is how things go here, and we know life happens and we've got to be flexible at times, but we can't all the time, and things need to be taken into account in regards to our relationship. Di, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation about anxiety, about perimenopause, about sleep, about boundaries, about everything. I said that I just wanted it to be a chat, you know, today about this because we could go down a more formal route, but really I just wanted, you know, to get the inside scoop from somebody that lives with anxiety and also works with so many people that have it as well. The work that you do as a coach is absolutely so needed and so wonderful. And I'm just really grateful to you for opening up your heart to us today and sharing so much about yourself.
Thank you, Julie. I've had a blast. This has gone on. I'm like, oh,
I know
I
you
love this
do,
topic so
and
much.
it's just such a great thing for us to talk about. And I think I'd just like to finish up by saying, and I know that you would agree with me, is that if you are out there and you are thinking to yourself, I would love to become a coach, but I can't because I have anxiety, or I can't because of potentially a number of other things that you might be walking with that makes you think, I'm just not going to be competent at this or good at this. Please, please lovingly question that thought and that belief that you have. Because, Di, how many years have you been coaching now? Has it been 10 years? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
nearly 11, isn't it? I was in that
Yep,
after the
that's
beta
right. You
group.
were very,
So,
very early on with
yep.
us. So it's been a decade. Here is Di living, walking,
Yeah.
working with her own anxiety and working with clients who do the same. You can do this. You absolutely can. And so don't let that stop you. And the wonderful Di Braybrooke is such a powerful example of that. And you could be too.